Hello, Miami. This is 305 Sports Now, your home podcast and channel for all things Miami sports related. I am Will, and I must say, after watching the abysmal game today between the Miami Hurricanes and the Pitt Panthers, I must say that I am truly glad that the season is officially over. It is sad because the Miami Hurricanes are not going to be bowl eligible this year as they finish with a record of 5-7, as they need to go 6-6 to be considered for a bowl game, and that's not going to happen. The Miami Hurricanes suffer a very devastating loss once again at home. All right, so another ACC opponent. The Miami Hurricanes have lost to the likes of Duke, Florida State, and now Pittsburgh as well as home. And this year they suffer losses to teams like Middle Tennessee, Middle Tennessee State as well, North Carolina. They have had an abysmal home record this year against their opponents, pretty much against everybody. They pretty much face, not everybody, but you know what I mean. It's been a pretty tough year to be a Canes fan, I will say. Kedon Slovis, who's definitely not Kenny Pickett, carved up Miami's hurt. Miami was bad all around, both on offense and defense. I'm not going to give the defense a pass this time, to say the least, because the pass defense was terrible. Okay, there was barely any pressure on Slovis as well, and Slovis went 18 for 28, 256. 3 touchdowns and 1 interception, but the player of the night had to be Israel. I always have trouble saying this guy's name. I tried saying it last year, so forgive me, guys. Abikanda. There we go. Abikanda with 15 carries, 111 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Jared Wayne with 11 receptions, 199 yards, and 3 touchdowns as well for the Panthers. That Pat Narduzzi defense is always very sick. A lot of pressure on our quarterbacks as well. They controlled our running game throughout the game as well. Miami's defense was nothing to be desired either. Not a lot of pressure on Slovis. They could not stop the running game as well. It was easy pickings for the Pitt Panther. This is a team that last year Miami pretty much, for the most part, controlled offensively and bashed their defense, on the road with Tyler Van Dyke and the Rhett Lashley system. But they gave up some points on defense, as Manny Diaz's defense yet did struggle last year on several occasions and on quite a few games. But to make a long story short, underwhelming performance by the Miami Hurricanes. It has been a terrible year. This was no different. It was a terrible game. Miami used 3 quarterbacks in this game, as Tyler Van Dyke did start the game. The first drive did look pretty effective, as he delivered a beautiful pass over to Will Mallory, but in a goal line, in a red zone situation, miscommunication between he and Skinner led to an interception that would lead to the first score for pretty much for the Pitt Panthers, in particular. So it was a very tough game all around. Miami's defense surrenders 504 yards against Pitt. Right. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. Okay, can't do much about beating a dead horse. Okay, there was no there's no pressure on the quarterback. The pass defense was terrible. Tyreek Stevenson gets kicked out of the game because he lowers his helmet and got called for targeting, against one of Pittsburgh's players, in particular. He gets kicked out of the game. James Williams, a couple of occasions, unsportsmanlike conduct as well. It was just not a good game all around for the Canes. The Canes, I look at, they had a vaunted pass rush forming as the middle of the year formed on, in particular with guys like Jackson, Mesidor, Taylor as well, Harvey as well. It was nothing to be desired this time around. There's no pressure in the quarterback, much of it, at least in this game, to say the least. Got gashed, and running the run. So it was just a tough game all around for Miami. All right, like I said, they finished 5-7, now bowl eligible. I will give a season in review. All right, I do want to give some of the players credit. All right, I am going to say some upsides. There are some upsides on defense. I will say this. I love Leonard Taylor. Right, LT3 is absolutely sick. All right, he's going to be a true junior next year, so I think that's good for Miami. Akeem Mesidor as well. Is gonna be a flat out stud as well. Right, it's on defense. I'm saying Cam Kitchens. Bow down to Cam. I mean, Cam had a phenomenal year despite troubles on defense and early on the season giving up big plays. But Cam finished the year with 6 picks. Right, a bunch of pass deflections, tackles for loss. The best tackler, I would say, on the team was Cam Kitchens, the most surest tackler, rated high amongst Pro Football Focus amongst defensive backs. All right, so Cam is an absolute stud. Very happy to see him come back as well. All right, I mentioned LT, Mesidor as well. I will say upset as well is Daryl Jackson was very good. The linebacker core did show some flashes of improvement with guys like Waymon Steed and also Corey Flagg. Corey Flag was a guy that was picked on this year as the weakest link of the football team. And like I mentioned in previous episodes, in many cases, he did lead the season in tackles in some particular games, as well. So those are just some upsides on offense. I will say this: I do believe the receivers this year, the young staff that was the recruits that Manny Diaz brought to the team, did underperform this year. If they don't hit the transfer portal, they will have another year under them, and they probably will do better in the system if they do retain Gaddis or even not. I do think that experience will help them perform better for next season, as many of them will be also true juniors. I'm talking about guys like Jacoby George, Romello Brinson, Brashard Smith, Xavier Restrepo. I'm talking about those guys I think will shine. I think Elijah Arroyo, when he comes back, is going to be Miami's top tight end next year. So I look forward to seeing that. That's if they do not hit the transfer portal, okay? We know that, unfortunately, Keyshawn Smith is probably gone, all right? He has fallen out of favor with the coaching staff as well. Mom's tweet did not help either. So that's something that that we're not going to see anymore. And I really had a bright future. I really thought Keyshawn had a bright future with this team, as he had 5 touchdowns last season, under Lashley's system, under Manny Diaz. And then this year he had a couple kickoff returns for touchdowns. And so I thought that he would take that next step. And sometimes he looked like he would, other times he wouldn't, couldn't get separation on many occasions. But, that's what I'm saying. He's probably no longer going to be with the team. He's going to probably hit the transfer portal ASAP as soon as possible. All right. So I'm just saying, if they stay, if Jacoby George, Romello Brinson, he's a toss-up because he didn't get much playing time this year, or didn't get much run. Again, I think one of the main reasons is why he didn't get much touch is because probably the way he practiced, and also his lack of blocking. All right. This offense is built around a strong running game, which they didn't have. Okay. Upsides as well, Henry Parrish, I will say that. I look forward to Don Chaney next year coming in again, hopefully fully healthy. Trevante Citizen as well. Hopefully we could pick up Mark Fletcher. That would be a very, very interesting running back combo room. And Chris Johnson. Hopefully we get one of those two or both. I think that would be very good for the Canes. So that's on offense. As well, the offensive line as well. I do think that we will see some guys step up as well next season, as they will come back. So those are some upsides. There were some upsides, very small upsides for the team, in particular. Some negatives, I put a lot of it on the coaching staff. I do believe this coaching staff in many cases did have these players pretty much underperformed. That's because they weren't prepared to face teams like Middle Tennessee. A lot of times, you had miscommunication amongst quarterback and wide receivers, especially early on in the year. It even showed itself tonight, as although TVD had been out for a couple games, you do practice, all right, and him and Skinner should have been on the same page on that throw. So that's miscue on that end as well. So that's just a little bit as far as what I think also needs to change. It just did not look very good. Defense in many cases showed that they were going to be the stronghold of this football team that keeps the offense in games. The last 3 games, I will say, Florida State. I'm sorry, the last 3 out of 4 games, Georgia Tech played very well. Florida State, against Clemson, and now against Pittsburgh. They just got manhandled, okay? The Clemson game, they did hold their own in the second half and put their offensive positions through turnovers to get back in the game. But nonetheless, that first half, let's not forget it, they were shellacked by a pretty much predictable short passing game by DJ Ugale, all right? So, again, underprepared. I will say offense looks terrible, all right? The Gaddis system has got to change. Like I said last week, either it's day and night with this offense. They're either going to be, world beaters next year, or at least better, next year, or we need a new coordinator and we need a guy that runs pretty much a spread, right? A full spread, or at least with tempo. All right, you can run your power spread, but you got to have more tempo. All right, Gaddis's plays take way too long to develop. They take way too long to get to the quarterback to call a play on the field on time. Defenses adjust to it, very predictable. A lot of times, if it's not predictable, it's just poor choice of play call, right? It's just about the way I feel about the coaching staff, in particular. Again, Frank Ponce, I'm not leaving him behind on this one. All right, Frank Ponce is the quarterback's coach. These quarterbacks need to be better prepared and against these opponents. We saw some regression from TVD. I saw major regression from Jake Garcia. Jake Garcia came in as a highly recruited guy. All right, the guy almost went to USC. Okay, and this year he's has not lived up to what we saw early on last season. Okay, and then of course Jacory Brown. he has to become more accurate. I mean, I do think the kid's got a future with the Canes. He could obviously compete for a starting spot. I wouldn't be surprised if TVD does hit the transfer portal, which I don't think he will. But if he does, if we try to get a quarterback, from another school, that wouldn't surprise me. But nonetheless, if Ja'Cory Brown is going to compete for a spot on this football team as a starter, as a regular starter, he's got to be able to be more accurate, and you got to be able to put him in more complicated schemes where he could get the ball out and trick defenses, because those short slants, those bubble screens, teams find that out quickly, and those direct runs, teams find that out quickly, and it makes you pretty much, easy prey for defenses. You're very easy to figure out, is what I'm trying to say. Athleticism can only get you so much, but you have to be able to deliver as a quarterback if you want to be successful. All right. So coaching staff will be put on notice. All right, as well, especially the quarterbacks coach, wide receivers coach, which is Josh Gaddis, and also the OC. Those are the guys I will put on notice. I like to see Kevin Steele with his guys next season, with Cormani McLean probably going to get a lot of snaps next year. Okay, I think that's why he chose Miami or Florida, and hopefully Damari Brown. I think Damari Brown could be an absolute stud lining up opposite side of Cormani. Okay. I do believe also we will have some transfer portal recipients come in and also compete for spots or, play next year. This roster will look very different next year. I don't think that you're going to see a lot of the guys that we got used to seeing, maintain themselves as Canes. Now, as far as the recruiting goes, Miami is doing really well. Still a top 10 recruiting team. Despite its record, its linebacking core looks really sick. All right. I'm really excited to see, one of the Washington brothers come in here for Palmetto. Really excited to see Rolaguirre, who is going to be a phenomenal Cane. He's just dying to get out there and get to work. Malik Bryant is going to be an absolute stud. Also, let's almost forgot Wesley Bassett. It's another guy I want to put notice on. That linebacking trio of Bassett, Aguirre, and Bryant will dominate Miami Hurricane football for the next 3 to 4 seasons. I can guarantee it. I've seen the film on Aguirre and Bryant, and of course, Bassett took major strides this year. He's one of those upsides that I forgot to mention. All right. Wide receivers, much necessary. If we can get Brandis Innis to decommit from Ohio State and become a Cane, it'd be great. All right. And of course, the O lineman, Maigoa, hopefully, the pancake honcho, all right, Sapsa Okunula decides to become a Cane. Connor Liu, all right, as well. We have also Kirkland, as well as the Cane. Hopefully we get to see them get some reps as freshmen. Unless Cooper, who's actually, playing this year, but get some reps. A young, good offensive line that could be able to set the tone, all right, for this season, or next season. I am excited though also about the ability of bringing new pass rushers. All right, we saw Najee Kelly, Cyrus Moss needs to get bigger, right, as well. And also we have Jaden Wayne coming in. We also hopefully could pick up Ruben Bain. He will be the quintessential pass rusher that could help the Miami Hurricanes, reach that level. He reminds me, from when I see it on video, of a Greg Rousseau. All right, lanky, quick hands, could get to the quarterback. He could be out. He sacked IMG's quarterback like 3 times in that game for Central. All right, so I'm excited, hopefully, to see him join the Miami Hurricanes. A bit of concerning news: the fact I think his father said he didn't want to be part of a rebuild, and Alabama has been trying to poach him, from becoming a legacy Cane, right? In particular, since his uncle is the legendary Tolbert Bain. Okay, so even if we don't get Ruben, Malik Bryant could pass rush as well. We got Cyrus Moss and Najee Kelly, but you also want to pretty much stack talent, right? It's one of the main goals that Coach Cristobal wants to talk about. As far as I mentioned, as far as Coach Cristobal goes, Coach Cristobal has become a very polarizing figure as far as Miami goes. He is a guy that was welcomed here because of what he did at FIU, what he was able to do at Oregon, the fact he's a former player that won multiple national championships as a member of the Miami Hurricanes. But I do believe, with respect, I do believe that his detractors and his supporters both have valid points. Okay, I do believe, and when I was talking to Dono and stuff like that early couple weeks ago, this team, in my opinion, should have been a 10-2 team. All right, and I hate to bring up Manny Diaz, but Manny Diaz, for as much of a country club atmosphere that he may have ran, or the fear of of losing out to players through the transfer portal in particular, his teams are often very competitive. Yeah, you got the loss to FIU, but after his first season, you cannot say that his teams were not competitive, right? His teams, pretty much lost. Like last year, they were 8 points away, like I said, from winning the Coastal Division and playing for playing for an ACC championship game, a championship game. I think they would have won. I don't think that Wake Forest was a very good football team last year to compete against what Miami was doing on offense. All right, he to his credit, James Williams was a Manny Diaz recruit. Leonard Taylor was a Manny Diaz recruit. Don Chaney Jr., a Manny Diaz recruit. Jay Knight, a Manny Diaz recruit. Tyler Van Dyke was the number one player in the state, okay, as well. All right, so these are things that we saw last year. The team finished 7-5, okay, could have easily been 10-2. The year before, the same thing. Okay, they had a 9-win season, if I'm not mistaken, last year, the year before, a 9-win season when they basically just played their division rivals, for the most part, and lost, pretty much an opportunity at the Coastal when they got manhandled by North Carolina. That's where I think Manny Diaz's favor with the fan base in many cases and the alumni started to fall out, and Cristobal stock, especially last year, beating Ohio State, heading into a third straight Pac-12 championship game, having multiple 10-win seasons, caught the eye of a lot of alumni that maybe we missed out on potentially what we should have done years ago and getting Cristobal. I will say that. Okay. I still think that Cristobal can turn it around, and for hopefully, we could set a date and time. I'm gonna have Greg Moss, on the show, so hopefully soon in January. Greg Moss, if you guys don't know, he's a defensive analyst for Florida State. All right, he's a DA for the Florida State Seminoles, and I see what's going on with Mike Norvell, at least his first couple seasons, similar to what's going on with Mario Cristobal this year. Mike Norvell, if you guys remember, we laughed at him early on, because he got shellacked his first year against Miami. You could say the ball bounced the right way for Florida State last year, and they just manhandled us this year. Florida State is a 9-win team in Mike Norvell's third year. They're probably going to be a 10-win team by the time their bowl game is over. They have gone day and night, all right, in their third season. And what has Mike Norvell done? He's brought guys that he knows fits his system best and changed the culture of that locker room over at Florida State, and hire coaches that have a winning attitude and also have great character. Okay. So that is very important. That was very important, Mike Norvell. It's very tough when you look at guys like Lincoln Riley that have his team in the top 10, Brian Kelly, his team in the top 10 in particular. Well, not anymore, but you guys know what I mean. Look at Lincoln Riley, Mike Elko over at Duke, and say, why can't Coach Cristobal do the same thing? For better or for worse, Cristobal likes his guys. He works better, I think, with recruits that he has a system, all right? And it's unfortunately, it's do it or bust, with him. It's not like, okay, well, let me adjust my personnel, then I'll get my guys, to run what I want to run. It's not like that. Cristobal has been adaptable in the sense that Miami did run a couple times with TVD a full spread, much to the success of that decision, as TVD's best game was North Carolina and also Virginia Tech. But nonetheless, Mario, it starts and ends with the trenches. Big defensive linemen, they're fast as well, and big offensive linemen that could both run and pass block. That's what he wants. Okay. Why am I giving Mario Cristobal a bit of a mulligan this year? Because he's done it. All right. He's been successful everywhere he's gone. He got FIU's first 4-star recruit in T.Y. Hilton. Okay. He got FIU's first bowl game victory. Okay. The following year, his seniors graduated. It was a rebuilding process. FIU didn't want to be patient. Thought they could get Butch Davis, allegedly. Thought they could get Butch Davis, to coach the team. They fired Cristobal. They didn't get Butch. They got somebody else. I forgot. I think it was Rod Turner at the time, Norv Turner's brother. But nonetheless, it doesn't work out. Coach Cristobal, then, he jumps around a little bit as an assistant, both at UM and Alabama. Goes to Oregon, and again, turns the team around. Okay, turns the team around. Kayvon Thibodeau, first-round pick. Javon Holland, first-round pick. Justin Herbert, first-round pick. Okay, so he's turning around. He won 2 straight Pac-12 championships and went to the 3rd straight Pac-12 championship game, lost out to Utah. The argument against Cristobal is that they could have probably won a national championship or been in a 14 playoff if it wasn't for the fact he's so stubborn and in many cases handcuffed Herbert. Woulda, coulda, shoulda, more successful than what we've been the last few years. You can't take that away. So this is a guy that has done it. So I'm willing to give him a couple of years, 2, 3 years. Regardless, Canes fans out there, Canes family, Cristobal's not going anywhere. They gave that man $80 million. Okay. 10 years, $80 million. Whatever happens, they're going to pay that money. So they're going to give Cristobal the hardball treatment. What does that mean? It took Jim Harbaugh, I think, 5 or 6 seasons to get Michigan rolling. He's going to get that. He's going to get that kind of time. They're not going to fire him. All right. The university is going to invest as much as they can to make sure they can maximize everything out of Mario. All right. He's got the pick a litter of coaching staffs. He's got to get a new facility built. All right. As well, things will be 6 stories high. There's talks of a stadium being built right near Tropical Park, which is much more centralized in Hard Rock. It is also much closer to the student body. In particular, he's not going anywhere. All right. So we have to ride the ship with him. Okay. We have to. We don't have much of a choice. Not like Manny, they just bought his contract out and that's it because they could. This guy is going to be here for the long run, but he's built teams, or he's built championship teams. Well, he's built championship teams. He's won Pac-12s. He's built championship teams. All right. And he's also put guys in the NFL, which is what a lot of players, when they look at schools like Ohio State, Alabama and Georgia, they look at the NFL track record as well. How many of these guys have gotten into the league? Miami has slowed down a bit in putting guys in the NFL. All right. At least in the high rounds. With Coach Cristobal, it's not going to happen. Okay. It's not going to happen. All right. Coach Cristobal has put guys in the NFL as top 5 picks, top 10 picks, all right, on a regular basis while he was at Oregon in such a short time frame. So basically what I'm telling you guys, I'm frustrated. I'm annoyed. I think this team grossly underachieved on both sides of the ball. But nonetheless, I wanted to give the guy a chance to see what he does with his own guys, his own recruits, and stack talent. And now a school like that's now fully invested in his football program, that's hired the personnel to do it, especially with Alonzo Highsmith that's had his football operations. And let's see what happens. Okay. By the way, NIL is also going to play a big deal. So John Reese is going to be a major factor in who we get as far as recruiting goes as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. I'm really sorry for the season. I wish it could have ended on a better note. I wish I could be covering the bowl games. I will be doing still some recruiting coverage as well, so do not fret. I'll still be talking about recruiting real soon. Hope you guys had a wonderful Thanksgiving. All right, stay safe. God bless. See you soon. And by the way, Miami Dolphins do play the Houston Texans tomorrow, and I will be giving you an analysis on that game as well. Stay safe. God bless. See you soon. Please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe if you like this content. Bye-bye. Have a wonderful evening.